Today, we're looking at a blue ink by Atramentis, Madame de Pompadour Dark Blue. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. There's timestamps down below so that you can skip around, but if you got the time, I would appreciate you if you check out the entire video. You can follow me over on Instagram, and if you're new here and like fountain pen ink reviews, I would remind you to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this Kaweco Brass Sport with a broad nib. I wrote with it for a day and used it to take the notes for this video. This first writing sample is done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper in order to have some kind of standardization to look at. There's additional writing samples later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. Extra fine is a little lighter than the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 11 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, same tone as the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 18 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we're not getting it in the writing. Tomoe River. No bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 15 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, and 25 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we're not getting any. And Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, and 12 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we're not getting any. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see at the bottom this very light green that pushes its way up, and then we start getting the darker blue that we really do see as the color. Now the one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water, and all of that green stayed on the bottom, but so did a bunch of the blue, which is the reason we're not seeing that greenish line down there at the bottom. It's more like a dark blue. It's where they both mixed in place, seeping into the paper. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page and how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I would not use this in a note-taking situation if I had to highlight because of the blowout in that lowercase h. Now water's moving all of the darkest tones, but not the blue that was left behind on the bottom of the second chromatography. It's still there in the paper. Pen flush is starting to break it up-ish, but not completely, but you are starting to see that that blue that's at the bottom is beginning to break up. I did need to use pen flush to get this out of my pen. The 1/3 bleach solution is completely removing it from the page, but I don't believe that you would need 1/3 bleach to get this out of your pen. As far as viscosity or flow, for the inks I've tested, I've found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. The Atramentis Dark Blue has a viscosity of 2.18, making it normal. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. I find this by using my writing samples that were done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. The Atramentis Dark Blue has an average dry time of 17 seconds, making it not just normal, but average. Instead of finding inks that look like the Atramentis Dark Blue, I would prefer to find an ink that complement its color on the page. I went for a nice magenta-leaning tone and chose Robert Oster's Chocolate. I know that's supposed to sound like a brown, but it's magenta. The second writing sample is done on yellow Rhodia, Life, and Franklin Christoph paper. Here we're looking at the yellow Rhodia, not to see a performance change, but more to see any kind of tone changes that this ink goes through for being on a yellow paper. Now, it does get a slight turquoise lean in the lighter areas of the letters, but for the most part, it would pass as a blue in a professional environment. You see that there is a tone change that occurs on the scrubby, and there is a slight lightening that's occurring on all of the writing. These are just things to be aware of for those in that professional environment. Life paper, no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 9 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 14 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we didn't get any. And last up, Franklin Christoph, with no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 8 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we didn't get any, and that is all that I have for the writing sample. So what do I think of the Atramentis Madame de Pompadour dark blue? There's not a lot of color variation that you're going to get in the writing, and there is a slight amount of color variation you can get depending on the pen that you choose to write from. Now, it is a very dark blue and very standard with that. Its performance is solid. I just don't know that I go for dark blues. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? A very wet pen really makes the tone too dark of a dark blue for me to enjoy it. But a medium flow, medium or broad, lightens it up just enough that I can enjoy what I've written. I do new ink reviews every single day, so if you're new here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.